Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are on F1 22 as always. And in today's video, it's going to be another one of those where it's going to be a bit of an open discussion, and I think it's a discussion that needs to be taken quite seriously moving forward with these games, and that is, why is the game always just getting worse with every single patch that's released? And you'll see we recently had the crossplay patch, which at first seemed to work really well, but you will see in this video that the more people who play online, the worse it seems to get. And you can see that I had a lobby here and everyone just gets kicked, and this is just not just me as well. I watched many other people's streams on all different platforms, and this seems to be the case. So I made a new lobby again, and as we get into this new lobby here, you can see we have the buffering ring of death where everyone is just completely desynced, and then in a few seconds time, as you can see now, everyone has just been kicked again. And yeah, where did everyone go? We have absolutely no idea. But once we did get into race itself, I thought, okay, maybe that's just it, that people just get kicked and we just have to get lucky in the lobby to start. And you'll see throughout this race a few more issues do crop up as well. But crossplay not working isn't really the full story. And I think it's just a very small part of what the bigger problem is with these games. And there's been a lot of new people playing these games in the last couple of years, and I do see many people just talk nothing but positive about the game, which is great. If they're having a great experience, then that's fine. But for someone like myself who has been playing since 2010, I think the evolution of these games could have been so much more than it is. And it's not really to do with sometimes the bugs or immersion. It's just, as a package, I think it should just be so much more developed as it is. It should be a much more polished, finished product. And you can see here, someone's actually retired from the race, and we have this guy with a red X for his ring, so he's clearly lagged out of it, and that guy has actually just left the session. And one thing I just started to notice in these crossplay lobbies, that as soon as someone leaves the lobby, as we have a massive screen freeze here, which is something I've never had playing this game so far. Once one person leaves the lobby, then it seems to kind of create a domino effect. So I don't know if it's because there's so many people online trying to play crossplay all at the same time, but it seems to then create a chain reaction, and you will see what the result of that is yourself very, very shortly. But yeah, I would say the main issue I have with these games is it's simply just a recycle game every time. And I think the last time we had a brand new game model or game engine, which is kind of the foundations of the game, of what it's built from, if I'm not mistaken, was in F1 2016, so 6 years ago now. And I'm by no means a gaming developer expert or a game designer or anything at all, but from understanding a bit of basic coding and doing a bit actually at university in computer science, one thing you don't want to do is to add extra layers of code more than necessary. Because the way you got to think of it is this: imagine that you're playing a game of Jenga and the game is the Jenga block. You keep adding more blocks, and then you're that guy who takes out the block to try and find an issue with the patch. You might have solved that issue, but then you've made the tower kind of crumble everywhere else, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's actually a good analogy. But I think because there's so much code in these games, and you'll see on the screen here now that even the game files of having a Force India and Toro Rosso, which is back in 2013. Having files from the games back from so long ago, you're just adding so many layers of code. So whenever codemasters try and fix something and they actually try and find the solution, it then disrupts another layer of code because there's so much of it. And that's the problem when you're not building the game up from the ground up every single year, is that you just can't fix all the bugs, and you fix one thing and a new problem develops. And since the start of this game, I know the handling wasn't realistic particularly, and that's why they did the handling update. But I know a lot of people just preferred it at the beginning, and this game isn't a sim in the first place. It was actually working quite well. And then since that update, there have been many more issues with the game, affecting the AI, even though the AI hadn't supposedly been changed, with the handling and the straight line speed. And yeah, and now with this crossplay, it seems to have just made the lobbies insanely laggy, and people just want to, or people just get kicked and leave. And you can see this AI straight line speed here. So yeah, servers are bad today, mate. I couldn't agree more. And you know, we haven't had this issue before where people are just getting kicked all the time. But as I said, I think there is a much bigger problem here, is that the game is just the same game year in, year out. And when I say that, I mean it literally is the same game. It's just a handling update and a livery update, and adding those things to the game when you're not getting rid of files you don't need, such as the Force India Toro Rosso, and having all the tracks in the game which are never going to be used. Those things really affect the game's stability. And as I said, when you're trying to fix something, like when I did coding at university, when I tried to fix something that had too much code in there, it quite often blows up another part of the code, and in this case, the game itself. So I think in order to really fix these kind of issues, because I just don't see crossplay working right now. If it's like this and everyone's just being kicked from the lobby host, then yeah, I just don't see how it's going to work. And especially when we don't even have dedicated servers, to my knowledge, still to this day, then I think it's going to be quite unrealistic to expect something like this to work. But as always, please let me know what your thoughts are and what your experiences with the crossplay so far, and also what do you think the solution actually is. Because in a way, I do sympathise with Codemasters and now EA in that they have to make a new game every single year, and they really only have 8 to 9 months to basically get a game that they can confirm will be sellable. But the problem with that is that it's not a new game each year. It's the same game, just with an aesthetic update and with the handling just tweaked ever so slightly. That's all it is. And they're not getting rid of the platform previously, they're just adding another layer on top of it. So back to my Jenga illusion, when you're adding blocks to the tower and then you're trying to remove blocks which are solutions or the form of patches where you're trying to fix problems in the game, when you're removing those blocks, then you're making the rest of it unstable. Whereas what they need to be doing is building a new block. But now, how do you do that though? Now, in 9 months, it's obviously a very difficult task. But other games and other developers, such as Call of Duty, which I've said in the past, they have 2 or 3 developers where they rotate, and I really do think that is the solution. They need another company, maybe people who make Assetto Corsa or iRacing, to share ownership of the game. And that means that Codemasters and other developers, instead of having 9 months, they have maybe 2 years or maybe even 3 years to make a game. And in that case, they can actually build it straight from the ground up, don't have to add any more code than necessary. And of course, the game still might not be perfect, because games do get released and they're not perfect, which is completely understandable. And I don't think anyone's saying that. I think the issue is that we just have the same issues year in, year out, and when a patch is introduced to get fixed, it actually makes the game worse in other areas, not actually better. So until we actually build a new foundation in these games, I just don't see it improving at all. And I know some people might disagree with this because they haven't experienced this themselves, which is absolutely fine. But myself, it's a very draining experience. And the racing saves it. When you have good races of people, you're going wheel to wheel, and no one lags out or anything at all, then it does make it a fun experience. And I do love playing these games. I don't take any pleasure being negative about the game. I really don't. I wish I didn't have to be at all, but I just feel the fundamentals aren't being addressed, and if they're not going to be addressed, then in the future I just don't see how things can improve, because I just see there's just so much more potential in the game. But I feel that these companies are just more focused on making the game look good rather than actually being good. And now you can see everyone has actually lagged out, and that just kills the experience. It really, really does, because you just want to have fun. You don't want to have these issues, and you just don't have any confidence in when a patch is introduced that is actually going to make the game better, not worse in itself. So yeah, again, just please let me know what your thoughts are on this. What has your experience been so far? Because it's not even online anymore. It's actually affecting career mode with this AI, where the straight line speed has been incredible, and in my team it's almost unplayable. It's that's not even getting fixed either. Whereas it's, I think there needs to definitely be a recall, and instead of trying to add features to the game such as the supercars and the F1 life thing, which no one ever uses, maybe go back to the basics and just try and get the fundamentals working. And you're about to see here, crossplay is broken, which I think we can confirm it is. And as I said, this is just not me. If you go to, I think Jarno Opmir, when he had his lobbies when he was doing yesterday, I was watching him, he had exactly the same issue. Other people on Xbox as well. It's happening everywhere. And no, this is not the main problem. The main problem is that the game just needs to be, we need to have a new game engine. It's been enough time now, and papering over the cracks isn't going to fix the whole problem. It really isn't. It's going to maybe temporarily, but there'll be a leak somewhere else. So just let me know what your thoughts are. Hopefully you are enjoying the game and having a good experience. I really do hope so. Thank you so much for support on the channel. Make sure you check out CoachLimitless.com, because I do have sessions available from September onwards. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.